Welcome back to Weekend Express as we continue to have this conversation on a subject that is photography on a mission, and the person in charge of this is Malcolm David from Glorious Photography Pictures. Now, before we went on a break, you're telling me about your journey up north, yeah? You've met this beautiful model, yeah? Looking for her donkeys, right?
Yeah, she was looking for her donkeys.
So you've taken a beautiful photo of how you've promised to go back. Did you ever go back? And if so, how was it? And how long did it take?
Yeah. I actually learned about what she was doing in the first visit I ever went. Because that time, we spent 15 minutes only 15 minutes, and I took the picture. But I knew that this was a door for me to get into that vast land. You know, like when you're traveling up north, it just looks like plain land on this side. And I see a lot of Kenyans going up there having fun on road trips, and they're doing the road trips. And in those road trips, you notice that the people are just enjoying the landscape and taking pictures. They say, hey, we went to the Chalbi Desert, we went to this place. But they don't really realize that the people around are actually, there are people in that area that are in need of, of being reached out. So in this case, I did go back, and when I went back, it was really, really amazing because I was able to reconnect. But it took 2 years, Dennis, before I went back, 2 whole years. And the only way that I managed to do that was when, the number which I had taken from, her name is Lebesha. I had taken this number from Lebesha. And I mentioned to her that I will come back one day and bring you photos. She said, when you come, tutashinjia mbusi. That's what she said. So that was a promise we just made in 15 minutes by the side of the road. So I did go up that road many times, but I never got to get that call to go through. Every time I used to call, it's Mteja wa nambari. Every time you get a call. But it never was like the number is not working, because I used to send some little M-Pesa. When I did the photo and posted it, everybody was like, wow, this is natural, beautiful. We've never seen something like this. Because it was spontaneous. It was not something we had planned. We just met on the side of the road, and I asked her, just gave her a bottle of water and a book, and just told her, we'll see you another time. So in May 2021 is when I was in a place in Kericho. I've traveled around the counties. I think by the grace of God, I have less than 10 counties to go. Now, these ones are on the other side of Kenya. Yeah. This one's Tana River. Mombasa, I've not gone to Mombasa. Okay, for work, I've gone to Mombasa, but for mission, I've not gone to Mombasa yet. So there's Mombasa, there's Tana River, there's that, this whole Horn side, and Turkana up there. Those ones bado ziko kwa list yangu of going there. So this is Samburu now. And finally, I get to talk to her, and we begin to talk, and, you know, she introduces her husband, and we begin to talk, and they invite me and say, please come. So the invite takes a year to happen. Oh. So in September, I knew it was time, and now the connection came, and I said, so how will we connect? Because there's no network, as in literally hakuna network iyo area wanaishi. And because of the accent, where she was telling me was not coming, as when I Google it, it's not there. So I'm like, God, how am I gonna go? So eventually, you know, I got to speak to somebody else who is from the area and said, this area of this hill, what is it called? Then they told me, I Googled it, now I got directions from Google. Some of the places I go just using the map and prayer. That is how we go.
It's funny how we don't have our local network, but Google can take you to places you can't go. Yeah. So here you've planned to go back. You finally get back to Lebesha's home.
Yes.
What did you find?
Well, what am I armed with first? As in, I've not even told a lot of my friends. Just a few of my friends who know what I do, they support, so that my chariot has fuel.
Yeah.
And sometimes when business is low, I just trust God, and He always make a way for me to travel. But I thank God because of my friends across different places. That God speaks to them, and they work. They send me something that can add up. Haba na haba, we join together. We've never lacked fuel for the chariot to go for missions. And the goal was not photography, this mission. Well, the goal was to fulfill a promise. So I had printed a picture of her, put it in a frame, and I carried one bundle of unga and some 12 bottles of water, some cabbage, and potatoes. I did not buy the rest of the things, sugar, salt, nini. I didn't buy those because I did not have. So I did not have to say, okay, fine. What I don't have, I don't have to struggle. I have love, I have Jesus, and I have what I'm going to do.
You have your photo.
Yeah, so when I arrived, finally we connected with Kinapa, is the husband, but I gave him the name John. I gave him the name John, and so I finally meet John, and we meet at a junction. Somehow the network is connecting, and you know, he had to stand in this junction in the heat for hours because we passed through Isiolo for a mission there. We passed there. I saw Pastor Salad. There's my friend called Pastor Salad in Isiolo. So we went, passed through his church. Then now we went on to Lerata. So we arrive, and what do we see? As in, it's just one plain color, brown. Everything is dried up. The thorns all over. It's just looking drought and everything. But the smiles that were in that compound when we arrived were just amazing. The smiles that came about when finally I met Lebesha, and I met her family. I met her husband, I met her children. The mother came, and also the father, who has a manyata nearby, he also came, and together they welcomed me very, very well. And it was very, very dry, but by the grace of God, it was amazing that they were able to receive me in such a way. So now I've come out of the vehicle, and my network has all gone off. I don't have any connectivity whatsoever. And the only connectivity that is there now is just Jesus and love, because the person that I'm talking to, the translation sometimes is getting lost, but for some reason we are speaking to each other in Swahili, and you know, it's making sense. So when I removed the photograph, it was completely amazing, like what really happened, because you know, the joy of seeing yourself for the first time in a photograph, the joy brought. Can you imagine, amidst of all the drought and everything, Dennis, someone just brings you a photograph of you in your days when it is prosperous, it's green, because we met in November 2020, and that time everything was green and lush, but now we are talking about a dry season. And we had to wait that evening, Dennis, for dinner, because the dinner was out.
By out you mean what?
The dinner had gone grazing.
Yeah.
So chakula imeenda raundi. So we have to wait. So I decided, okay, there's this book, Kenya Prayer Guide, Kenya Prayer Guide by Mumbi Michelle. She sent me a copy before I went to Samburu. It really helped me, because when I looked at that book, it has visuals about, you know, every county and everything. And I looked at this book, and it shows Samburu has so many children. So I was like, what do we do now as we wait for dinner? I said, can we go look for network? So I took all the kids who were there, all of them, and put them in the chariot. There were so many, I don't know how many there were. And then, because, you know, there's no communication, so I became a Sunday school teacher. So making sounds like the car, boom, boom, you know, so all of them there. So, I mean, that's just the happiness and joy. And I thank God because none of them was malnourished, malnourished to the point of, pity and sadness. No. So we went to the field, and it was so dusty. You should see some of the pictures of dust on my face and everything. So we came out to the kids, and now there was network. So I called my family. I told them, nimefika, niko sawa, but there's no network. So you are not going to find me again. So, but I'm fine. I've met everybody that I need to meet, and we are going to be okay. So that was only a 2-day trip. I spent 1 night there, the first trip. So in the evening, now it was time for food. Yeah. And they just looked at one of the goats, and the rest of the goats had gone to another place to graze. They have given somebody to go with them. And even cows are not there. They're in Laikipia at that time. They can't stay there because of drought. So we sit to dinner, and Dennis, hakuna chumvi. Hiya. There's no salt. As in, I was like, Lord, I always remember to buy these things. Yeah. Salt, matchbox, small things. Because Dennis, you don't need a lot of money to go on a mission. Sometimes all you need is love. And you need, compassion. You put on compassion, it says in Colossians. Put on compassion and just go. So, the Lord just allowed me to just, not complain, just be with them, eat the meat without salt and everything. Then I got to sleep in a manyata and immerse myself in the culture completely. I walked around without shoes. I ensured I had no shoes. I just wanted to be part of them. And eventually, what happens is, in the morning, and this is the morning when they are announcing the president, whether the presidential Supreme Court, it went to right or left. There was a lot of, should I go for the mission or not? Because I'm going at a time when there was tension. But through prayer, God told me all will be well. In that morning, when we woke up, the Lord told me the outcome will be peace, everything will be okay. So I told them, they have no radio, no TV, and we have no network on the phone, but we knew God has brought peace on Kenya. We prayed for Kenya from there, and God brought people from Manyatas. They started walking in. I don't know how that works, but I always see it happening. Even in Marsabit, in some other village, that happened again in September 2021. I was in Marsabit now inside. So Dennis, this is what happens. So these people come and they make a whole church. Like this is the cousin of Lebesha, the mom, the uncle, there's so many of them. And it's Monday now. So it's just before they go start looking for water and things like this. So, and for us, we're getting ready to go back. It's a very long drive. It's like 6 hours from there to Nairobi. So one of them says, ukienda, utulete shakula, utulete manguo, utulete yani she just opened, Sometimes you are told, ask, Dennis. Ask and you shall receive. and I thank God because on this platform I also ask for help because I know that there's somebody there who may be watching and say, how can I be a blessing? Because there's a third visit coming up. So when I was leaving Lerata, I was like, oh God, I wish I had something to give these people. But I had Bibles. So I had like 15 copies of Bibles. A Bible is like 1,000 shillings. So a friend of mine had bought 20 Bibles, Swahili ones, and just blessed my mission with them. So that's how I left Lerata, and I mentioned to them I'll be back in 40 days. So I was sure in 40 days that Lebesha would have given birth to the baby, and now I would have gone back to see the baby, and this time I will go back with gifts and blessings and other things.
And some of the images that you sent me earlier are just touching because I could see Lebesha is happy with family and everything. Now, aside from just the meeting Lerata people up north, where also have you gone, and what are some of the changes and just the joy that people get to receive when they see themselves on a picture, because I'm an adult right now, but a picture any day, yo.
Yeah, you're taking a selfie
exactly
every day.
Yeah. So how people who've not been able to get access to this, how does this make them feel?
Yeah, like I mentioned, Mission Monday is not is my day of rest as a photographer, because I do photography every day. But there are moments when I take pictures, and when I take pictures, I promise to give them to them. I've been to Magadi, Rombo. There's another family there also that God connected us. And
that gave you a name as well.
Yeah, God gave me a name. In Masai Mara also. That one was a business working trip, but that was the first time that I got connected with the Masai community, and they gave me two names, Saruni or Lengai.
What does that mean?
Saruni is a wise man, and then Lengai is son of God.
So now, I think as we wind up here, you are a photographer on a mission, and you're used to put smiles on people's faces, to touch souls that probably haven't had that connection with just what technology has to offer. As you proceed to going back to Marsabit, as you continue on a mission, what are you telling Kenyans with regards to, number one, understanding the plight of the people out there, and number two, how can they be part of this mission as you go back there to take them Mashakura, to take them Manguo? So how can we be part of that process?
Being part of that process first begins with our attitude, because one thing that I have observed as believers, as Christians, just addressing the Christians, there are two commands that the Lord Jesus Christ gave us. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength. And the second one, he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, you see that the challenge with compassion is that we are drawn to a dying old man picture, or some cattle which are, like emaciated, they are broken. That's when we really feel as Kenyans, we need to go now and support. Yet, even next door, even in these urban centers, there are places where people are in great need. Even your neighbor, even in that lush, posh neighborhood, there is your neighbor who's in serious trouble. Stuff is not working the way it used to work. And what we need to do is to show love, compassion. That's the first need people have. The people need love. Because love needs no interpreter. It doesn't need any love. Love is a universal language. You don't need an interpreter. And in all these places I've gone armed with love. I've gone armed with a smile, and the camera is the last thing. Because people, again, when they see cameras, they have a thing to think of. They start thinking, unapeleka wapi picha yetu? So first, photography is my work. So just like for you, news is your work. So on the day that I am not working, I'm out on missions. That's why my studio is closed on Monday. When you come on Monday, it's closed. You're wondering, where yako wapi? Because I'll work the rest of the days. But now when we have a special mission like the one happening on 26th of November, then we have 3 days that we are off. So 26th of November, this coming Saturday. And you ask me how can people participate. 1, you can pray. 2, you can give. 3, you can go. And 4, you can do all the above. So that is one way. I have a number that is separate from my work number that someone can use to send a little M-Pesa, say nunua shumvi, just basically funds are usually the challenge. When somebody gives you 100 shillings and says, enda ununue chumvi, like for me, I will not buy anything else. So I have 100 shillings and my chariot does not have fuel. So the best thing is to give the fund and to believe God that we are going to appropriate it correctly. Because for 2 years, what I've been doing, you asked about, different places where I've been. Moyale, I went to Moyale. I was called Apostle Boru in Moyale. And there's this family, they were trusting God for a child, and God blessed them with a child just through prayers, a child called Isaac. And those are the far places. Kapenguria also, they are waiting again. Kapenguria, I did a long drive, just one day. Long drive, 8 kilometers up to Makutano. Now, the mission is the places I was stopping, the petrol stations, the roadblocks, the place I'm buying food. It was nothing out of my way. Actually, I don't use a sound system for missions. You just go. I go.
So now you have a studio, and
yes.
You're also a traveling photographer.
Yes.
What you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
And it's all about giving the smiles and
yes.
spreading love, right?
Yes, yes.
And
Jesus.
and spreading Jesus.
Yes.
And as you continue with your work, we pray that Kenyans will come through for you.
Amen.
That as you continue to spread love,
amen.
Smiles across the country.
Yes.
We wish you the very best. That's the time we had on Weekend Express.
Thank you.
This conversation definitely will continue.
Yes.
And remember that this is Malcolm David from Glorious Photography Pictures. You can reach him on his social media pages.
Yes, yes.
Have that discussion with him. Be part of making smiles to the likes of Lebesha and Kirapa. And as this conversation continues, remember that love wins wherever it is you are. My name is Dennis Aseto. Many thanks for watching Weekend Express. I will be back at 11.